Good.
Good.
We're good? Let's call the meeting to order, and let's start with our flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of April 9th, 2019 was included in the meeting notice sent to the Burlington County Times and Courier Post on January 4th, 2019, and advertised in said newspapers on January 6th, 2019, and January 7th, 2019, respectively posted on a bulletin board in the municipal building on January 7th, 2019, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. With a roll call, please.
Yes. Mrs. Gilmore?
Here.
Ms. Schneider?
Here.
Mr. Costa?
Here.
Mr. Klaus?
Here.
Mayor Mashaki?
Here. Is there a motion to approve the regular committee minutes of March the 12th, 2019?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
I abstain. Reports. Is there a motion to accept the reports as follows? The tax collector's report for March 20th, the first quarter ending March of 2019. Code enforcement report of March 2019. Fire official, construction, emergency service reports, all of March 2019.
So move.
Second that. Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. All right, that takes us to public participation, comments as to agenda items only. I see Anna Evans.
Anna Evans, 63 Parry Drive. I'd like to address Resolution 2019-76-4, proclaiming to local residents and businesses that the township will not collect new stormwater management or rain taxes. I think this was something that Assemblyman Ryan Peters is trying to push through the municipalities. I just want to make the point that Jennings Black was literally here at the last township meeting complaining about runoff into Rancocas Creek, right? We all remember that? The creek is really important to us. The creek, everyone loves the creek. Why wouldn't we keep every option open to prevent polluters from spoiling Rancocas Creek? It isn't something that we have to apply, but why do we have to have a resolution saying that we're never going to apply it when it's a recourse that we have to help save our beautiful Rancocas Creek? That's all I want to say. Thanks.
Anyone else? Kitty?
Catherine McNellis, 407 Bishop Avenue. I'd just like to make a comment about this ordinance for the redevelopment plan for certain property. I stopped in the office today and talked to Paul about it. She was showing it to me. I just don't understand. We got rid of all the old people that have been here for years doing the same thing over and over and over and over, and now we get a whole new group and we're doing the same thing. You look to the west, and you have storage facilities in Mount Laurel. You look to the east, you have a brand-new bank and a coffee place going in. You look in the middle, houses. I thought we were going to get an economic committee and try to get ratables in. These houses are going to add to the school. I understand right now our school is down. There's not a whole lot of kids. But you, like just my street alone, there's 6 homes on my street. There's not a child there. I'm 77. How much longer can I last? When I go, somebody's going to come into a 3-bedroom house with kids. And that's going to happen all over Hainesport. And we're not looking to the future. I remember Lillian Smith saying, do not paint yourself into a corner. That's what we're doing. We never try to get businesses. It's all houses, houses, houses. And from what Paula showed me, the line down the back of 38, all that is the easement for the sewer line. That's what we're getting out of this? Please. Thank you.
Anyone else? Right here, on the left.
Good afternoon, good evening. Nancy Scullion, 7 Lumberton Road. I am totally against the rain tax. I feel that we're being taxed to death in this state as it is, and it is definitely not needed in our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Anyone else? Gentleman with the camera?
Good evening. Louis Lopez, Mount Township resident of 98 Laboratory. A resolution under B and G. Can you clarify?
I'm sorry, could you say it again?
No, it's under resolution B and G.
What's the question?
Yeah, B.
What's the question?
Yeah, B and G.
Sure, okay, so resolution, let's see here, 2019-73-4 is I want to say it's not an annual resolution, but it's something that the committee has been passing in most municipalities in Burlington County every 3 years, and it's an invitation from the Burlington County Department of Community Development to participate in the Community Development Block Program and the Home Investment Partnership Program for fiscal years 2021 and 2023. So that would make us eligible, and our residents eligible to receive grant opportunities through that program.
B and G.
G is a resolution that refers a matter to the planning board to determine whether or not a certain area along Route 38 is appropriate for designation as in need of redevelopment, so that indeed the township can redevelop property along Route 38 for non-residential purposes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Anyone else? Gentleman behind Anna?
Scott Cooper, 44 Patriot Way. I want to echo what Anna said about the rain tax thing. Seems like it just came up kind of all of a sudden, like we're just hearing about it for the first time. And sounds like it's something that probably needs more discussion. Lee posted an article on Hainesport Happenings, I think maybe just yesterday, about it. And I read the article. I saw some comments in there about it that other people said that 40 out of 50 states have passed resolutions against that type of thing. So I'm not really sure why there needs to be a rush to pass this thing tonight. I hope there's some good honest discussion about it and thoughtful process that takes place with it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Gentleman in front?
Louis Marsden, 62 Perry Drive, Hainesport, New Jersey. Okay, again, I'm going to sort of echo what he just said, and what that last lady also said about taxes, so there's a juggle here. Is there a way to find out how much pollution we are getting into the creek? Has anybody looked into something like that? A way measuring the water, determining how much is runoff that is bad or good? Has that been looked into that way yet? From a scientific perspective. That's my question.
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Yeah. Great question, Lou. Wish I could answer it. That's something beyond the expertise of this board. That's something more so the DEP or maybe the county health department. This township and other towns like us aren't really, we don't have the facilities, the manpower, the training, the engineers to look into water quality. It would cost us a lot of money. That's kind of a regional thing to do. And I would suggest that either the county or the state get involved in something like that as the water quality of our Red Cocos Creek, I guess you're talking about.
Fair enough. If may I ask a second question? All right, then before we determine whether the tax works or doesn't work, is there a way to measure how it works? You know, again, I agree, if we're paying the tax for no reason, fine, let's get rid of it. But if it's doing something, and it was implemented to do something, should we recognize if it's doing it, is what I'm asking. Just that was a more rhetorical question, I expect you to be able to answer it
It's
tonight.
not clear that the tax, if collected, would be applied to the cleanup. That's what they say the purpose of the statute is, but that's, you know, in Trenton, that's not always the case. More importantly is that you have an EPA, state EPA now. That EPA has been made aware of whatever problems we've had with regard to that creek and any other environmental problems we've had in the township, and we're taxed heavily enough, and that EPA does its job, or at least tries to do its job. It seems to me that this is just a tax that serves no purpose, that it's not already covered by the state budget, already covered by taxes that we're already collecting. And I, for one, don't want to pay an additional tax where taxes are already being submitted to the state to handle EPA problems. The assumption that if this tax is not implemented in this township, there's going to be an environmental disaster happening in Hainesport is just not true.
Well, that was my original question, is what does the tax prevent? That's why my first question is there a way of documenting what it does or doesn't do? I mean, you're stating an opinion, which is fine, but nobody could say whether it does or doesn't. I'm not saying I'm for the tax. I don't want to waste my money either. If the tax is doing nothing, it's doing nothing. But there doesn't seem to be any way of no yardstick to say whether it's doing something or not. And that's what my confusion is.
Well, do you know how well or how poorly our state EPA does its job, or the federal EPA for that matter?
I know they could do a much better job, I can tell you that.
Well, you have two agencies,
Federal and state.
federal and state.
Right.
So now they want the municipalities to jump on the bandwagon and do what the federal and state claim they can or cannot do.
Well, again, the tax is there. It's not like you're trying to implement something new. I just, I did ask my question.
I'm just responding.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And like I said, my only question was to try and measure how much it does. And if we could walk away saying it does absolutely nothing for the town, let's get rid of it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, that closes public participation for the agenda items, and that takes us to the presentation portion of tonight's meeting, and we'll start with the budget for 2019. No, we're not?
No, we are. Make magic.
It's warming up.
We might have to shut more lights off, because that's kind of light. I mean, I can't see it too well. I don't know about anybody else.
That's better.
There we go.
You want those off too? Can we turn? Yeah, may we please?
We didn't want to
ones
say
with
anything.
that Out too, only. Sure. Only. Go ahead, we'll just, you know what?
Okay, great. So I apologize, my back is somewhat to you. This presentation is for you in the audience. But I just wanted to kind of lay the foundation for everyone on what last year's budget looked like and the levy. So we can't do this year's because we don't know, right, what all the other entities are taxing at this point. So it really wouldn't be fair to make assumptions to those other agencies. So as you see, I mean, I think we all know that the majority of our budget is the schools. So that is basically the financial, the actual number breakdown. Last year, the municipal levy was let's just say 2.5 million. And I will have this available on the website. And then this is pretty much the same, it is the same information, but this is showing you the percentages.
Your total municipal was 14.93%, total county 18.05, and your total school is 67.02. And our auditor was kind enough to put it in another format for us. Federal government. So moving forward to this year's budget, I apologize, I really just took a condensed version of the actual budget document. Really, this is just for you to glean over, but the important number is down at the bottom. The actual total budget, total appropriations that we are recommending, administration is recommending is $4,258,229. So as you can see, it looks like a pretty significant reduction compared to last year, which was $4,777,000, and the biggest contributing factor to that is the grant allocation. So it seems every 2 years we're getting the DOT grant, we're getting the municipal park development grant, the CDBG grant, but through the year those are added as special items and they're offsetting. Then moving forward to the revenue side of our budget. So one of the issues that we had this year, and really not a really big issue, but the revenue side is lower compared to last year. So unfortunately, some of our anticipated revenues, we did not meet those revenue anticipation numbers. So we can't put in the budget we can't exceed the amount of money that we collected in the previous year. So in our new CFO, Donna Kondo, she takes a conservative approach on these numbers so that we don't run into the same problems. It's actually a double whammy on our budget. It takes from our surplus, and it also takes away from our what we can account for in the next year. So this is a snapshot of some of the estimated levies that I really didn't, want to put on the pie chart for you guys because we don't have those numbers. But there's your general appropriations, as well as your reserve for uncollected taxes. We have to account for that. So again, there is your local purpose tax to $2,557,329. So based on the original suggestion, we're looking at a local tax rate this year proposed of 0.334, an increase of 0.008. So the average assessment, $278,105, would see a $21.38 increase for the entire year. So the monthly cost would be $1.78. The monthly cost $77.37 total. So some major highlights, which I think are most important for everybody here. So again, this year the budget utilizes $850,000 in surplus valve. That's pretty much been standard. Okay. So obviously this is fiscally responsible, leaving the town ample surplus for future years. The 2019 budget is under the state appropriations and the state tax levy cap. The 19 budget proposal, as it stands right now, is just under 1 cent. Again, I don't need to repeat the increases. So what's great about this budget, it includes all of the capital projects as fully funded, so there's no borrowing for any of the capital projects. It includes a leaf vacuum truck, Bancroft pipelining. We experienced another pipe failure in the same pipe that failed in 2011, so we do need to reinforce this pipe off of Bancroft. And it also includes $500,000 towards the new road improvement program. Some of the other factors that helped reduce the budget expenditure side, medical payments were reduced, as well as our pension obligations went down. A great thing, the new fire truck is paid off this year. And as I said earlier, some of the revenue things were not met, and that breaks it down. Interest on assessment, construction fees, fees and permits. Those particular line items, we did not meet those revenues last year, so unfortunately we have to anticipate less amount of money.
So the overall goal is to continue to grow the town's financial stability, which will allow for improved road improvement program that will have the least impact on taxpayers. So Bob, I don't know if you wanted to add anything, or did I?
The only thing that I'll add, Mayor and Council, is that, as Paula said, that you're only able to realize the revenue you collect in cash the previous year. The state has certain regulations. One of it is a cash basis budget. If you only collected $100,000 in revenue, you can only anticipate $100,000. That's the safeguard they have in place. There's an appropriation cap that Paula mentioned. We're only going to let you increase your spending so much. There's a tax levy cap that she mentioned. We're only going to let you increase your local purpose taxes so much. I reviewed your budget to make sure you're in compliance with state regulations on all those different things, and I did review the budget and sign off on it that you are in compliance with all the state statutes.
Thank you.
So, and something else too with this, so the budget that we are proposing to you is a reduced budget from last year in terms of the increase in the tax rate. Last year was 2.74% an increase. This year, this proposal is 2.36. So it is a lower amount as compared to last year's increase. In talking with, can I turn the lights back on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So it's a $68,000 increase. That's where that number finally comes to.
Oh, sorry.
So, in talking with each of you individually, as well as some residents, there was some concern or a suggestion of maybe finding ways that we can reduce the budget even more. And, you know, this is your budget. In meeting with Bob and Donna, we discussed it, and there is one area that I feel comfortable in reducing, and that's the Bancroft pipelining. Right now, there's $100,000 budgeted, and it is in the current fund. In the capital improvements line, stormwater pipelining Bancroft Lane. Right now, it's proposed at $100,000. If you reduce that by $50,000, what's really great also is that we received the 2019 DOT Transportation Trust Fund Grant Award early this year. So we made an application for Bancroft Lane in response to the community's concerns about speeding as well as the road infrastructure. But within that grant application, we included the Bancroft pipe. So there, we can utilize some of that grant money to help offset what's in the current fund budget. So it's great timing. So with that being said, if you are interested in reducing the budget by another $50,000, we can do that. And what that would mean is the amended tax rate would only increase to .00179 cents from 2018, which this amended increase to the average assessed home would be $3.04 for the year, or 0.34%, which equates to 25 cents a month of an increase.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make that motion. That motion would, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can we do that first, or do we need to do the other resolutions, Bob?
The other resolution.
Yes.
You need to actually pass some resolutions, have a public hearing on the budget after the residents have their say on the budget that was introduced. Then we could move to the resolution to amend the budget, on which we would have to we'll have to table the resolution, advertise our amendment, hold another public hearing, and then adopt.
Will those costs offset the savings?
Will those costs offset the savings administratively?
I think the cost is only the cost of a newspaper advertisement.
Sure.
And another meal?
Sure. I mean, did you have any other, I mean, we've talked individually, which is great. I know some of you met individually with the CFO to get a better understanding of the budget.
There won't be any need for instance, our attorney to show up. It should be a very brief meeting, I understand.
Okay. All right, so the first thing we need to do is pass Resolution 2019-81-4, which authorizes self-examination of the 2019 budget.
So moved.
No.
Second that.
Can I make that?
Got that, Sharon, or we're on, that's,
I'm trying to find,
it's under Section 10, 2019 budget, it's the first one.
Okay.
A.
and Lou made the motion?
Say it, I believe.
And second?
Sure.
Secretary. Okay, Mr. Costa?
Aye.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Schneider? Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes.
Great. Next, we have to pass Resolution 2019-82-4, which authorizes the 2019 budget to be read by title only.
So moved.
Second that.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Aye.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. And now, is there a motion to open this to the public hearing?
Second that.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes.
Public comment.
Public comment on the budget. Going once, twice, 3 times, sold. So, let's move on to, is there a motion to adopt the 2019 budget? Oh, no, no.
Now we want to amend
Table
it.
that.
Oh, we're going to table that, right, sorry.
So we have to make a motion.
So the question is, do you want to move to, I would first move to table the adoption.
Okay. Is there a motion to table the adoption? In other words, table, adopting the budget? That's Resolution 2019-83-4.
So moved.
Second.
Yes, but we have to be very...
Jerry, moved.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Leila.
Leila was,
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
yes.
Okay.
So now if someone wants to make the motion to amend the budget as discussed minutes ago.
I'll resume making that motion to amend the budget, as we discussed, which would be a reduction of $50,000 and would decrease our tax rate, our tax increase to approximately $3 per home for the average assessed home.
Second.
Hold on a second. Do we know the date and time of the next, hearing?
So,
That'll be the next motion.
That'll be the next motion?
It's all in the resolution. I'll say it now.
Okay,
When you're going to advertise it, when you're going to hold the next meeting.
okay. So Thursday, April 25th, 6 PM.
Can you do Wednesday?
That's my son's birthday. Tuesday. Let's discuss Tuesday, any day that week.
Monday?
Can we go later on Thursday or a different time on Thursday?
7
Okay.
PM. Yeah.
I'm good with any day that week except Tuesday.
Okay. Okay, so April 25th at 7 PM?
Advertise it at least 3 days prior to that date.
So that Monday prior. So that would be April 22nd? Yes.
This is the resolution we're heading to.
I have it right here.
Oh, it's 27, right?
We treated this as a
25th.
motion, but in fact, it should be a resolution, right?
I have it right here. It's in mine. Look. I did it ahead of time. Right here. I added it. He just gave it to me.
Oh, okay, so, it's on the agenda. Okay, so if the committee could move to add Resolution 2019-85-4, resolution to amend 2019 budget to the agenda. That would be in order.
Okay, I'll rephrase this motion to so amend the agenda to include a resolution to amend the budget under the resolution number just mentioned.
Second.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes.
All right, so that resolution does what Mr. Costa's motion asked it to do, which is reduce the 100 to 50. The date of the public hearing on the amended budget will be again what?
Thursday, April 25th at 7 p.m.
And will be published in accordance with the law in terms of the time.
on April 22nd in Burlington County Times, or earlier.
A motion to adopt that resolution will be in order.
Now, is there a motion, as John just described?
I make that motion.
So moved.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm writing this down. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes.
Got through that one.
Okay, that was all right. All right, back, now, for those of you following in the agenda, we're going back to discussion portion, and I think we're going to let the state police jump in here. They have a report.
Dr. Ray Lally, working on the house. Just going over data for the last quarter, everything's status quo, everything's pretty much as far as crime. What's that?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to face you guys. Can you hear me now? Okay.
It's really basic.
Okay. No, it's okay.
It's all right.
No,
Okay.
the,
We're
public.
halfway.
Here, I'll do this.
Put yourself.
I'll address you guys. All right, everything as far as the crime, everything in Hainesport is pretty much status quo compared to the previous quarter. We're right on par. Again, Hainesport is a great place to live in Burlington County. So, nothing really stands out with the exception of the detectives briefed me the past month there were some break-ins, mostly vehicles. So, common sense things, please lock your cars. I wish we could not lock our cars, but unfortunately there are people that up and down the streets and they check the cars. So we had a string of those, and they have slowed down, but they're still kind of picking up a little bit. So they're kind of sporadic, but hopefully we get them, or they just stop. So we'll get to that. We're on top of that. Everything else is pretty good. One thing I have to give credit to Paula for, she was able to acquire a speed detection device for the town. That's something we don't have access to. It's a piece of equipment we never had. And what we've been doing with that is putting that on different roads to basically identify where the speeding is and the erratic driving and whatnot. So it's been good on twofold. Roads we thought that were problems, we've been able to identify they're not. And then there's roads where some of the public has said, hey, listen, can you guys check out this road that we normally thought, okay, that's a pretty good road. It turns out, no, that's where the speeders are. So it's pretty good. So we're still working on that. We have a pretty good relationship, emails back and forth. And it's good because roads that we never thought of would have the habitual speeders, we're able to use our resources as troopers and put them in areas that benefits the town. So it's pretty good to have. So definitely credit for you, Paula. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. And we'll continue to use it. So if any residents feel like they have a street that, hey, I think there's a lot of people speeding on that road, please let Paula know. You can call us directly. You can let her know. She can contact us. And we'll put some selective patrols out there.
How was Bancroft?
I think that was one of the first.
It was the first one.
Yeah.
How'd that do?
Surprisingly, it's actually pretty good. So again, a lot of it's perception, where sometimes in my hometown, I go, oh, wow, there's a lot of speeders on this particular road, which Bancroft, and when we get the data, Bancroft is actually a pretty safe street. So, that's what I was saying, it works two ways. So, we're able to take our resources and put them on roads that actually are much worse. So, thank you, it's a great piece of equipment. The data that comes out of this is, impressive. There's charts, there's pie graphs, there's all types of things that are very beneficial to you guys. So, thank you. But that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sergeant, always a pleasure. Take care. Next item for discussion and presentation is our 2019 Road Improvement Program, which dovetails nicely with the sergeant's report.
Yes. So I provided to each of you my recommendation for the 2019 Road Improvement Program. As you all recall, at the end of last year, you all hired Street Scan to come out and do a pavement condition assessment, as well as identify all of our catch basins. As a result of that data, we have a inventory of every municipal roadway in Hainesport Township, and they have been segmented into the various maintenance suggestions. We have none in the reconstruction area. We have some in the rehabilitation area, which is generally the milling and the overlay, and then most in the preventative maintenance, which is generally just an overlay. So after communicating with most of you individually, as well as last year receiving some of your suggestions based on the work that the Public Works Department did, because they also went out and did a road inventory. They did a great job. I am making the recommendation to focus on those roads that are in the rehabilitation category, which are your top, your worst roads, quote unquote, with a PCI generally between 50 and 69. And remember, if that pavement condition index is low, that means it needs a lot of work. And the higher that index gets, the better they are. So with that being said, there are some roads that are connecting to roads that are under the rehabilitation, but parts actually fall into the preventative maintenance. But it just doesn't make sense to say, for example, Perry Drive, to only do, a section of it because it's in that rehabilitation when they're already going to be out there. So it's economies of scale and efficiencies. So I did include some of the inventory under the preventative maintenance to also be in this year's road program. Also, a factor in my recommendation is the award of the DOT grants. So obviously Phillips Road was on the rehabilitation. We can cross that right off because we got the 2018 grant, which, by the way, we are going to have, that is going to be advertised for bids in a couple weeks, and we will have the bid opening the end of April, and we expect the Phillips Road project to get started in May or June. Also, receipt of the 2019 Bancroft grant, so we can cross off Bancroft, which was also in the rehabilitation. So that's saving us a pretty significant amount of money. But you have the list in front of you for your consideration. It does include, for the audience's edification, Pine Alley, which was one of the top roads, Devon Lane, from Tartan Circle to Stonehaven, Pulaski Avenue, from Lumberton Roads to Haynes Avenue, as well as Princess Avenue to Royal Avenue, Perry Drive, Creek Road to Perry Drive, Wells Court to Thackeray. Those are all under the rehabilitation. And then Marion Way, sections of Marion Way, Perry Drive, Devon Lane, again, Perry Drive and Devon Lane. So those are the main roadways. That gets us to about $453,000, and then you have your engineering contingency. So it's a little bit over $500,000, but that's a nice point of reference, a place for us to start. And then obviously, once the engineer is selected, they'll do their cost estimate as well. And then the bidding process will obviously dictate, what the final cost would be. And those costs do fluctuate in terms of, paving. So it is before you. I know you want to get started on this. We've been talking about it for some time. Please review it. I don't know if you want to make any motions tonight, or if maybe the next meeting, if you want to go ahead and give me the authorization to work towards it. It's up to you.
This has nothing to do with potholes that they're taken care of by our own,
No,
no,
that's being done in addition to this,
right.
as needed. And as those complaints come in to either myself or
Right.
Jay or anyone in the office, yes, they're going out and filling as best as they can with fill.
Right. So this is separate budgeted.
So if you wanted a motion tonight, again, we'd have to make a motion to amend the agenda to allow it, but what is it that you want? Just authorize you to go forward with the program as outlined?
Approve this list as being your 2019 road improvement program.
So, I mean, procedurally, we just need a motion to approve the list,
You can
Joe?
actually just move to approve it as presented, because it's on there as
Okay.
presented.
Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
that.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. All right, that takes us to ordinances. Ordinance 2019-1 to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. This is a public hearing and final adoption for this motion, or for this ordinance. Any comments from anyone? Hearing none, seeing no hands, is there a motion to adopt? I just did.
Yes, we're looking at.
So moved.
A second?
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Ordinance 2019-2, amending and supplementing Chapter 123 of the Township Code entitled Parks to improve standards for parks and recreation. Again, this is public hearing and final adoption. Any comments from the public with regard to that particular ordinance? Hearing none, seeing no hands, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes.
I'm sorry, ordinance, the first ordinance, did you open that up for
Yeah, I
to the
did.
public? Okay, I'm sorry. Really missed it.
Great.
Thank you.
And now ordinance 2019-3, adopting the redevelopment plan for certain property known as Block 100.14, Lot 12. This is the first reading and introduction. Public hearing and final adoption will be May 14th of 2019. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second that.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Resolutions. Resolution 2019-72-4, the governing body certification of compliance with the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Resolution 2019-73-4, authorizing the Township of Hainesport to execute an agreement with Burlington County for cooperative participation in the Community Development Block Grant Program and Home Investment Partnerships Program years, and this is the federal fiscal years 2021 through 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Resolution 2019-74-4, authorizing the filing of a recycling tonnage grant application for the year 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Resolution 2019-75-4, authorizing the CFO to refund late fees for 2 dog licenses. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second that.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Resolution 2019-76-4, proclaiming to local residents and businesses that Hainesport Township will not collect new stormwater management or rain taxes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Got it. I got a second.
Okay.
So I think that would be Jerry and then Lee.
Okay.
We should all wrestle for it.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Resolution 2019-77-4, authorizing issuance of bingo and raffle licenses to the Ladies Fires and EMS Auxiliary. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Jerry first.
Yep.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Resolution 2019-78-4, authorizing and directing the Hainesport Township Joint Land Use Board to cause a preliminary investigation to be made pursuant to the New Jersey Local Redevelopment and Housing Law as to whether certain areas along Route 38, specifically Block 42, Lots 1, 1.01, 1.02, 1.03, 1.04, and Lots 2 and Lot 2.01 within the township are areas in need of redevelopment or areas in need of rehabilitation within the meaning and intention of said statute. Is that a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Resolution 2019-79-4, establishing a new policy relative to the claimant certification requirements as set forth in New Jersey statutes annotated 40A:5-16A. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Resolution 2019-80-4, authorizing execution of the developer's escrow agreement. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. All right, we've already done Section 10 regarding the budget, so I'll take us to Section 11 regarding business.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Are we done resolutions?
yes, we
No,
are.
we're not.
Way to go.
No,
Jay.
we're not, hold it.
Jay?
No, it's authorizing the award of a contract for municipal complex hockey rink repair.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. Sorry, my mistake. Resolution 2019-84-4, authorizing the award of a contract for the municipal hockey rink repair.
I make that motion.
Second.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Okay,
I
that's
think
the end of resolutions. Ted?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking at my agenda. There appears to be a couple more on the agenda. I and J, am I missing something?
We just did those.
We just did I and J.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right. In that case, I have a motion to make, Mr. Mayor. My motion is to introduce for discussion only a resolution that would have Hainesport basically express its dissatisfaction with the state's sanctuary status for illegal aliens. I bring this up now only because most of the township has already seen it, I bet in this room anyway, because I published it on Hainesport Happenings, a delightful site, and each of you has a copy before you as well. And I've made copies right next to Sharon, the tax collector, on the table if anybody wants to see a copy. This motion is made for discussion purposes only. We don't intend to pass the resolution tonight, but nevertheless, I think some people did appear tonight for this resolution under the belief that maybe we would talk about it. And so therefore, I do make the motion to introduce the resolution for discussion only. Can someone, if I make that motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. I'd like to discuss it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that would allow anyone in the audience to discuss it during the public comment session. I made this motion, folks, only because I did a little research and I found out that we're already spending about $3.5 billion, billion with a B, on taking care of feeding, housing, and incarcerating illegal aliens. And I think it's under that, based on that, which is about 10% of our state budget's somewhere around $36 billion. Having that in mind, our Attorney General, an unelected official, our Attorney General has unilaterally created this so-called directive which basically makes it unlawful or prohibits our law enforcement personnel in the state of New Jersey from basically assisting the national immigration authorities, which we call ICE. And I think that that the Attorney General's directive not only further increases our taxes, but also has a tendency to invite more illegal aliens into our state and may cause additional crime as well. And knowing that 70,000 people already died of the drug known as fentanyl in New Jersey last year, and much of that traffic comes from south of our border, I feel that there are those reasons alone, drug aspects, plus increasing our taxes, increased crime, would make it appropriate for us to show our disapproval, our dissatisfaction with the state's Attorney General's directive. And that's my brief statement for today.
Thank you, Ted.
All right, so, John, procedurally speaking, that discussion would take place during public comment, am I right, or?
Well, I think the motion was to discuss it now, so...
Okay, so, all right, so, anybody out there want to discuss Ted's proposed?
No, I mean discuss it up here.
Up here, okay. All right, I'll start with, my extreme left.
Well, I have some issues with the cost of illegal aliens, and but mine basically come down to what it cost us as Hainesport Township residents. And I have problems with the fact that our school has lost 2.36% of its budget this year. It will lose more next year while we're spending money to educate undocumented people to go to college where they don't even have to apply for FAFSA. So I have my issues with it. I'm not sure it goes to the extent Ted's does, but I say if it affects our town, I have some concern, and it affects the cost of our educating our children in our town, I have concern. And that's basically where I'm going to go with that.
Lee?
Yes, I would like to go through Ted's resolution, but to echo what Jerry says, I'm in agreement with what Jerry says.
Leila?
Well, I have a problem with some of the things that are written in this resolution. I'm just not comfortable with it in its entirety, and
So I think we should come through it before we make any decisions.
I
I don't think we should dismiss it, though.
I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying I'm just not comfortable with it as it is.
It can be changed.
So, and I'm certainly not a legal, I'm not an attorney, and I know I don't like anything that affects the people of this community adversely. I think you'd have to be out of your mind to think if we would want anything to happen here in our town or any place in the state. I'm just, and I don't understand what this will do in the scheme of things. I just don't understand how this will affect the state of New Jersey or, anything from happening.
What do you mean?
Well, how will us going against what Trenton has already put forth?
Oh, well, a few towns have
What
already.
kind of, we have home rule, but how,
It's taking a stance. Because once they overpopulate the cities, they're going to come into the suburbs.
But as residents, we always have the right to, if we have an immigration problem, to call ICE directly. Right now, this
right,
new resolution, or the law of the state says the police can't call. As residents, if you have a concern, you can always call.
right.
So we're not taking away, our right as a resident to call ICE directly is not been taken away.
Okay. So what are we going to, we don't have the police force here in town
Exactly.
Nope.
to police it ourselves.
That's-
We don't have
that's
the
what-
authority to tell them because they work for the state.
That's
Correct.
kind of what Ted's getting at with this. We don't have, we can't in Hainesport have undocumented immigrants in our town because we don't have the police force, let alone the resources for it. We don't.
But we can always, if you have that concern, you can call yourself. You could call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want anybody to think you can't call as a resident, ICE, and say, we have a problem. Just the police can't call if they suspect. That's, so, we always have that right.
If I may. There's more to it. The directive from the Attorney General actually prohibits our law enforcement officials from providing any type of identifying information of these illegal aliens, even though some may be suspected of being in some kind of gang, or a criminal gang, that is, or conducting other nefarious activity. I'm talking about our enforcement officials, jails, police, are not allowed to give their hair color, any identifying information, their tattoos, and you know that those MS-13s like their tattoos. They're not allowed to supply birth dates, their photographs. They actually hinder the enforcement of our federal immigration authorities. And you got to figure a lot of that thwarting the immigration authorities' powers at the federal level is going to hurt residents of New Jersey, one way or another. And it's going to invite further illegal aliens to come into our state, because basically they're being invited to come.
Are you saying if they perform a crime that there's no recourse?
I'm not saying that. If it's known for sure that they've committed a crime, they can be arrested. That's certainly the case. But many times, police officials, as part of their investigative duties, they have to, how do you say, add up the, what's the term, add up the dots? Somebody help me with that one.
Connect the dots?
Connect the dots. Right. What we failed to do on 9/11, for example, we failed to connect the dots because basically the FBI wasn't allowed to communicate with the CIA on much information that was pertinent to finding out who the real terrorists were. Well, in this case, there are certainly a lot of criminals coming into the country through illegal immigration. We know that for a fact. And we're kind of tying the hands of law enforcement authorities on the federal level from tracking certain suspected criminals down, because our state law enforcement officials are prohibited from cooperating and identifying anyone in custody. Not only that, but they're not allowed to hold in custody certain people that have been arrested for, say, minor crimes like theft beyond 24 hours, even if the federal authorities of immigration want to detain them and question them. There's many prohibitions, and I've set forth a lot of the prohibitions in the proposed resolution. It's just bad news for our country and bad news for our state. I know many of you may think, well, what's that got to do with Hainesport? Well, it affects Hainesport in many ways. We've talked about our tax rate. We have to go begging every year for state aid for our schools especially, and our municipal taxes, to keep taxes down for everyone. As this illegal immigration increases, it will only increase our taxes. That's a concrete concern to all of us. But I would also point out to you that there's been so many fentanyl deaths in this state. Many in Burlington County. I don't know about in Hainesport, but I bet there was, and I wouldn't be surprised. It's only a question of time. I can tell you that I've had people in my office crying who were the parents of people who died from fentanyl. And 90% of the fentanyl is manufactured in China and comes through Mexico. And that's really a fact. It's well known. And I think that we have to do something about all of these problems with illegal immigration. You know, last month, there were over 100,000 illegal aliens that were counted coming in. And that's only 1/3 of the full flow, they say. Probably about 300,000 a month. Just count the numbers and count how many, well, you can estimate how many will come to New Jersey just based upon what we have here now. They're coming here, whether we like it or not. Sorry if I'm going on too much.
Is everyone had their say?
Yeah, because I'm still, if somebody commits a crime, they can still be punished and they can still be sent back.
Let's
Correct.
clear up a couple of things. Number one, if an illegal immigrant, illegal alien, undocumented alien, whatever you want to call them, commits a crime in this state, they will get deported. It happens every day in our state courts. I do a lot of criminal law. It's the bulk of my practice, and I see it every day. So there is some effort to deport, particularly recidivist offenders, or offenders of serious crimes. Even a DUI in this state can get you deported or change your immigration status in a negative way. That hasn't changed, this pronouncement notwithstanding. The notion of a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state is something that falls at the feet of the politicians and government officials that come up with these ideas and then try to enforce them. To the extent that they want to advocate for sanctuary city or sanctuary state status, then they better go back and read Title 8 of the United States Code, Section 1324, where they may be in fact harboring fugitives or harboring criminals. If that's the case, then they should be prosecuted for passing these types of rules and regulations because it violates that statute. In my mind, it's a question of law and order, not a question of where the people are coming from or why they're trying to come here. No one in their right mind would blame a family who's having a hard time in their country of trying to get the hell out of that country and come into this country looking for an opportunity like everybody else did. Right? Whether they know the significance of what they're doing in terms of the legalities of how they got into the country is really beside the point. If there's a problem at the border, it's not because people want to come here, it's because of the idiots in power haven't done the right thing by this country. And when they enforce things, we just have our governor, we got that moron in Philadelphia. If you're going to establish these types of communities, these types of states, then it's incumbent upon the people to contact the federal officials, contact the Department of Justice and say, why aren't you enforcing the law and prosecuting the people that advocate these policies? The people coming into this country are caught in the crossfire. They can't go home because of whatever's going on home. They're going to get prosecuted if they come here. And there's either clean up the system so it works properly. In the meantime, people that are inviting the problem by creating sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, they should be prosecuted. This resolution, although I understand its point, I don't think it does anything but stick our finger in the eye of the governor, which really accomplishes nothing. To accomplish something, I think you have to put their feet to the fire and write to our officials in the federal government and ask them to enforce the laws as written and prosecute. Until such time that the laws change, the laws should be enforced. We are a nation of laws. We're not a nation of what feels good today. People want to come here. They have to come here because they want to be here, because they like this country, not because they want to exploit this country. And people, the problem again lies with the government itself, not so much the people that are trying to get here. And that's just my opinion. I think if we're going to do anything, if this governing body is inclined to do anything, then a letter to the appropriate officials in strong language indicating that they advising them to enforce the laws and prosecute those that violate the laws is probably more appropriate. I don't want to be known for picking out on a particular group because we don't like the way they look, smell, or anything else.
I think Ted brought that up, the stereotypes.
I don't fit. There's no need to stereotype.
I agree.
Here. It's a question
There's no need to
of
stereotype.
enforcing the laws that are on the books, and not just picking which you want, what law you want to enforce, what law you don't want to enforce.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, the resolution is extensive. I indicated it can be shortened, we can change it. It's not meant to pick on any particular ethnic group. In fact, I'm still wondering what ethnic group we're talking about coming out of South America, because it's all ethnic groups, every single one just about. So it's really just protecting our borders from illegal aliens. We already allow over 1 million legal immigrants in the country every year. That's legal, and that's fine. We're not complaining about that whatsoever. This resolution, I think, is a law and order thing, and I believe we're not complaining about necessarily the people that come here. Most of them, I'm sure, are fine. We're complaining that the Attorney General, an unelected official, has taken upon it in his own hands to just make it an important decision for 9 million residents of New Jersey that we're to disobey or disregard or not pay attention to federal immigration law, which is preempted by the federal government. I know when I pledge allegiance to the flag, that's not just an inanimate object. That represents the Constitution to me. That's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that's to protect our residents. I think we as taxpayers can demand nothing less from the state of New Jersey but to protect us in many ways, and among those protections, we should be demanding that our state government not contravene not hinder, not thwart the efforts of our federal government in protecting our borders. And he's actually creating a magnet for illegal aliens to enter our state, enjoy our resources, and increase our taxes. Thank you.
Well, one final word. With regard to the Constitution, you know, the states have the right to prevent the federal government from marshaling state resources to effectuate or enforce federal law. That's what Article 10 of the 10th Amendment, of the Constitution represents. With regard to people coming in here, look, if you're in a bad way in the country you live in, and there's a country that you can get into because the system is broken, or if you choose to get in through the legal method, you know, who's going to blame you for doing that? But that's not the problem. The problem is who's in charge. And the people in charge that want these sanctuary policies need to be prosecuted. And again, there are cases that are working their way through the system with regard to federal funding to the various states. There are a lot of conditions with regard to federal funding that states interfere with the implementation of the immigration rules, that they may lose funding. I know that the court decisions are back and forth on that issue. Someday, that hopefully the Supreme Court will clear it up, and that'll be an additional arrow in the quiver to combat this. But this resolution, in all due respect, and it is well written, but the problem is that all this does is say, we're not paying attention, we're not cooperating. It's really, it's a toothless tiger, because we have no police department, we have no prosecutor, we have no court. So what? So Hainesport, you know, screams and yells, we don't like this, and here's a nasty letter. I don't think that's worth our effort. I think it's much better to say, you know, let's contact the people in charge and say, look, enough's enough. Start prosecuting the people in power that are doing this, and maybe they'll all start towing a different line, and we'll see these types of things go away. And that, in turn, may discourage immigration. But I don't like anything that insinuates or suggests that we're picking on a particular group. And I'm not saying this does that, but I don't want to give that impression. I mean, if I was in their shoes, I'd try to get in here too.
So maybe we should open it up, Mr. Mayor,
to what?
public discussion.
They can talk about it, comments.
No, I don't think that's necessary.
We did that, right?
We already had public commentary.
Didn't we in the beginning?
Well, there's another one in a few minutes.
There's another one in a few minutes, right, so.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on from there. That takes us to business. Is there a motion to approve the business licenses?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Is there a motion for the approval of charitable clothing bin license 2019-03, Turnkey Enterprises LLC?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Correspondence, we have a DOT grant award letter, Paula?
Yes, you just want a motion accepting it for the record, but it's the fiscal year 2019 DOT grant award for Bancroft. It's the formal letter that we received from the state.
So is there a motion to accept the letter and the grant?
So moved.
Second. Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. All right, our second public participation session, and we have he was quicker on the drawing, so we'll go to Mr. Lopez.
Commissioner Luis Lopez, Baja Resident 9811. First, I want to give thanks to your fire department who gave me a safe ride home at the last Township run. I appreciate him, you know, courtesy, taking his time. He drove me to my heart. I really appreciate it. And my second question is to apply for a gun license. Do you have to go to the county or township, or you have to go directly to the state?
State Police.
state police, right?
In Hainesport State Police. But if you're in a different township that has its own police department, you go to your police department.
He's in Mount Holly.
No, the reason I add is I've been seeing a lot lately of, the state is having strictly gun, policy that would take over the local area. For example, if you want, apply for a license, for a gun license, you have to go to your township, you have to go above, you have to go with the state now. Have you heard, do you got any policy on that?
I'm not aware of any change other than your local police. In Hainesport, we don't have local police, so we're bound by the state police.
Okay.
If it's changed, it's been recent.
I'm not aware of the law having changed, I think, if you live in Hainesport, you gotta go to state police. I don't think you said you lived in Mount Holly, so you'd have to go to their police department.
All right, just like I'm confused. I see a lot of those. And, the only thing with the town laws is, if you identify ill or, sell something, it cannot be issued, but people try to reverse that, it does no good.
That would be part of the investigation process. It's not for us to determine. That would be part of their investigation that would determine that.
And, one question is, for the budget increase, for the budget from last year to this year, are you gonna use any funding from the years before towards the 2019 budget? Did the surplus for the 2018 go to the 2019? Or how that?
No, so any funds not expended will go into surplus. And our surplus is, I believe, almost 4 million.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Million? Yep. Exactly off the top of my head, but you can't, it has to go into surplus.
As one congratulations to the two new candidates for Hainesport. Have a good day.
Okay.
Thanks, Lois.
Thank you. Anna?
Anna Evans, 63 Parry Drive. I don't really know where to begin about Ted's resolution, but I want to start by saying thank you, Frank, thank you, Leila, for being the reasonable people in the room. Okay, I appreciate both of your viewpoints, and I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that we have 100% Republicans sitting behind this dais, but we have two reasonable ones. Now, if that represents the proportion of reasonable Republicans in this town, you've got 45% of the town who don't want anything to do with Ted's resolution. That's my people, that's the Democrats. And then you've got 2/5 of the Republicans who don't want anything to do with that resolution either, maybe for different reasons. But that's a majority of the town that is literally embarrassed by this resolution. That's one point. Second point, Ted used the phrase illegal alien maybe 15 times. I am a writer and English instructor. That is biased or charged language. The correct preferred term is undocumented immigrant. At the very least, can I ask, please don't laugh, Lee, it's true. Can I ask our elected officials to use non-biased language when talking about a group that is largely an ethnic minority and is often stereotyped? Can we at least do that?
You can ask.
Thanks, Ted. Third point, lots of discussion about this on Hainesport Happenings when Ted introduced the resolution there. Many people made very sensible points, such as the fact that sanctuary state and city laws improve the safety of residents because they encourage illegal or undocumented immigrants. Lee, I'm speaking.
Don't point fingers if you're going to say it too. I'm just saying. You're splitting hairs.
The reason that it is that we should use the unbiased language is so that more people continue to use unbiased language.
Lead by example.
Then
lead by example.
I'm trying, Lee. I'm standing here and I'm giving you all my reasons why I
chastised me for saying something that just came out of your mouth. It was a mistake, right? So I can say it was a mistake too.
Can I continue with my comment?
Please do.
Thank you. Many residents suggested that these laws actually make us safer because undocumented immigrants are more willing to come forward and report crimes when they are not at risk of being deported by ICE. I implore you at the very least to look into those facts before you vote on this final resolution if it is introduced next township meeting. Again, I implore you, I do not think this resolution is necessary. Like Mayor Mashoki said, it's not going to do anything. It's just a slap in the face to the governor, which I appreciate you don't like the governor, but it's not going to do anything. It's just going to make a lot of people very unhappy, like the people who were up in arms in Hainesport happenings, really upset. It's a very divisive resolution for a town. And I think you need to appreciate that moving forward. Thanks.
Next, her hand was up first, sorry. She beat you to the draw. I'll try to get to everyone.
Nancy Scullion, 7 Lumberton Road. I'd like to say about the resolution is that I'd like to point out to Mayor that at the end you said, well, I wouldn't blame them for wanting to come here also. Come here legally. Come here legally. You left out that word.
Well, if you were paying attention, ma'am, I said this is a nation of laws. People should comply with the laws. I didn't give anybody a free pass.
Okay, well, I heard you say,
Well, I'm not...
back up and say, I don't blame them for wanting to come here. They need to come here legally.
I don't blame them for wanting to come here, and I didn't make a comment whether they got here legally or illegally.
Well, that was what I heard. You did not mention...
What you heard and what I said are two different things. If you're going to quote me correctly.
Okay. I am very strong about this resolution. I understand how what kind of money we're going to have to put out for undocumented, illegal citizens. And it's going to cost us a lot of money. Other townships are doing it. And I don't believe going to the federal government or to the state government and trying to fight them on it is going to do anything. It's up to the towns to form together and realize that, yes, it is coming from this. Everybody thinks on Hainesport happenings, it's not going to happen here. Who wants to come here? Who wouldn't want to come here? Who wouldn't want to come here, especially if you're going to be free school, not pay property taxes, have all the perks? Who's not going to want to come here? We have no police department. You don't think that when they get off the buses, when they're shipped in...
I'm not understanding your point, ma'am. Are you suggesting that I'm in favor of all of that?
No, I'm just saying, stating to the whole council, plus the mayor, that why wouldn't that people not want to come here if they're getting all those free perks? And another thing is that if it's a sanctuary state, and, you know, that's where they're going to want to come. So we're one of the... Are we the only one? Is California? I don't know if California is a sanctuary state.
Yes.
Okay, so there's only a few. Of course, that's where they're going to be coming. And we're all going to have them here, and we will have to pay for them. And once they're here, if you don't have a resolution in place, and, you know...
This resolution can't do anything. It cannot...
It has happened in Little Egg Harbor now. It has happened in 3 other townships that are saying, we will not... You just talked about the 8th Amendment. We are harboring illegals.
I talked about the 10th Amendment, actually.
And the 8th, what's the 10th Amendment? Is the 10th Amendment, we're not allowed to harbor?
No, the mayor referred to the 10th Amendment, which is the amendment that gives states certain powers. The 8th Amendment is cruel and unusual punishment. I don't think the 8th Amendment was...
Okay, well, I don't know my amendment. I haven't read to my amendment yet. I'm trying to. But we're harboring people that are illegal. And it really bothers me that we only have state police that can't patrol. We need, our township...
I don't know that we're harboring anybody.
But if they're illegals...
Where are they in Hainesport, do you know?
I'm not saying that. They're not here yet.
Well, you just said...
Believe me, they will be.
Who is we and who are we harboring?
When illegals, undocumented illegal immigrants come here, then they will be here. And then we will have no resolution to say, hey, We have something in writing that says, just like all those other towns, what are they doing?
What do you think this resolution would accomplish if it was passed?
I've never even seen the resolution.
Well, then, what's your point? With all
My
due
point
respect-
is, safety first. We have no police. We have nobody to patrol our streets when there goes a bag of dirty diapers out the window.
All due respect,
And-
ma'am, this resolution isn't going to correct all of that, all right? That resolution, if passed now, at 8 o'clock, if it was, it would not change a thing as to how things operate in this township. If you want to get what you want accomplished, then you do have to petition the federal government. You do have to say to the Department of Justice, hey, there is somebody in this state that is breaking the law, and I cited the statute, if you were paying attention.
That's maybe the statute that I thought was thinking
That they
of.
were breaking, and they should be prosecuted for it. I mean, the people that are trying to get into this country don't know what our laws are. They know that they can get in because someone told them, hey, look, it's easy to get in over there. And if they're leaving a bad area to come to a better area, that's human nature. That's what people do. You want to regulate that, then you have to enforce the laws that allow you to regulate it and prosecute the people that violate the law. But this isn't going to do any of that. It's not going to do any of that. It's just going to stick our collective finger in the eye of the governor and say, hey, you, we don't like what you did. That's all it does. That's all it does.
That's good enough for me. I mean,
That's
as
good
long
enough
as
for you?
somebody goes
Well, you know,
and reads it.
What's good enough for me is prosecuting people that break the law. That's what's good enough.
Exactly. And who's going to be watching people breaking the law when we have no police? They're going to be stealing stuff off of our
I don't need the
porches.
police to tell me that there are people in government that are supporting sanctuary policies, and the support of those policies, the implementation of those policies, is what breaks the law. Stop them from doing that, prosecute them for doing that, you'll see these types of issues go away. Doing it the other way around isn't going to do it.
I don't believe that.
Well, then we have to agree to disagree.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Question, should we prosecute the New Jersey Attorney General?
Absolutely. This gentleman, real quick.
I just wanted to let you know that there is a recall Murphy, petition out that I will notarize anyone for free. It will be out, I think, by the end of the week.
Thank you, Nancy.
Gentleman in the brown shirt, he was next.
Louis Marsden, 62 Perry Drive, Hainesport, New Jersey. Interesting situation. Just going to pretty much echo what you've said a little bit, and maybe at a different angle. Our immigration system has been broke for probably 30 years, and it is a federal and state government problem, not a local township problem, which has been said. Just to give you a perspective of what I'm trying to say here, is this. I came up before next a question about the tax. Did anybody figure out if it's doing any good or not? And Mr. Costa said good question and made a good point. He said, we're a small local government and don't have the resources to deal with that. That is a state and federal government. There's a state EPA and a federal government EPA. Now, immigration is more important. I'm not trying to compare it to a river. My point is, it goes for the same argument. We are a small town. We have our local governments. We've spent a lot of time on this. The township taxpayers, conversation about this. And as your governing body said yourself, it doesn't do anything except divide the different people in the township. If people in the town feel strongly about undocumented aliens one way or the other, they need to write their senators and their representatives. And everybody has the right to do that. That's one of my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I address that, please? Well, Lou, good comments, and I thought somebody smart like you would pick up on the analogy to the waste water in the creek. The question is, why should Hainesport, a small town, be even involved in the discussion, since we really don't have a major crime problem in Hainesport, right? Yeah. not many immigrants, illegal immigrants here right now, right? And, Lou, if the state legislature were doing its job by trying to get the Attorney General to retract its directive, then local towns like Hainesport wouldn't have any reason to shout about our objection to the directive. Now, we can just roll over and do nothing, that's true. And maybe our resolution won't do a darn thing. That may be true as well. But the idea is to alert the public, to educate the public to what's going on. I'm willing to bet that a majority of New Jersey residents don't even know what the Attorney General has done. They don't even understand what this directive is about. And they never will, unless public attention is brought to it. Now, a few brave townships, like Egg Harbor, Jackson, and another one I forget, have already brought such resolutions like this to the forefront and passed it. And I think nobody in Burlington County has done it yet. And my immediate goal is to pass a resolution, however abbreviated from the present one. We can take out some of the language that we deem objectionable. But to pass a resolution, simply making our stand that we object to Big Brother trying to take away our rights under federal laws. Right? It's the federal government that controls immigration law, and the state's hindering its enforcement. And I object. I don't know if you do or not, but I object.
I got to jump in. You're starting to demagogue this issue, and I'm starting to get a little annoyed with it, because the states never were obligated to cooperate in terms of resources or anything else with the federal government. That's what the 10th Amendment was all about. What the states cannot do, and where this is where my call for prosecution comes in, is prevent information from being exchanged. They cannot direct state employees, do not give information to the federal government. They can say, hey, don't transport so-and-so from point A to point B, or don't lift a finger to take them out of the jail, or whatever it is that they can instruct the personnel to do. But they cannot prevent information from being exchanged.
I agree.
What the hell are we going to do with this document then, Ted? I mean, really?
Well, once we shorten it down to something that people can live with, I think it's important.
Well,
satisfaction.
you asked me to stay up here to answer your question.
Right.
One of the major optimum words to your statement was we. You said it several times. I don't think a township governing body, or a state body, or even a federal governing body has the right to speak for all individuals. That's why I made my point. As individuals, we can write our congressman. Okay? This township business is township business. This is not part of the township's business.
Well, the Attorney General feels like he can speak for all 9 million of us.
All right, your points are well taken, and I appreciate them.
Very much.
Thank you.
Excellent points.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I see Kitty. I'll get to you, ma'am, next.
Catherine McNally, 407 Bishop Avenue. I know it gets pretty expensive today to pay for anything. But in terms of expense and in time, it was expensive for everybody who ever came into this country to be supported by anybody that was here already. My grandparents came over to Ellis Island, and I'm sure a lot of other people did. I don't think they should come in illegally, but if I were being persecuted like some of these people, I would go to the place that was the best. And that's what the United States of America is, the best. And that's why they come here. Now, to get off of that. That's just my opinion. Now, when I was talking before about the property and not liking that ordinance it occurred to me, you probably didn't even know what property I was talking about. It's the property on Bancroft. They're going to put 20 homes there.
Oh, yeah.
On approximately 7 acres of ground. And then they're going to give us the easement for the sewer line down the back of the other properties. Hainesport made the big mistake many years ago when they put Creekview in, and they allowed them to take 500 feet of commercial property and put townhouses. And that's when all of our schools had to be added on. And like I started saying before about, nobody on my street has any kids. If all these houses, and all the people are old like me around here, a lot of people in Hainesport, and we're all gonna go one of these days, and all them houses are gonna fill up with kids. And we're not thinking ahead of that. So that if that happens, and now you keep putting a house on every postage stamp they can find in Hainesport. It's bad enough they do that, but we have to stop putting houses on commercial property. We will never have any rateables as long as we put houses on commercial property. 85 acres where the Glen is, that was commercial property. What did we end up with? 3 acres, 4 acres for that in the front of it? The same with the parks. A third of Hainesport is parks or recreation. 1/3 of Hainesport. And we're going to make a park out of our commercial property. And we're going to put maybe 3 or 4 acres will be commercial. We have to stop and start thinking about rateables and money coming into the coffers that take care of our taxes instead of us doing it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Kitty.
Thank you, Kit. Anyone else? Lady in the back, right there, in the blue shirt.
Shelby McCarr, 98 Washington Street. On behalf of the Ladies Auxiliary of the Fire Company, I just want to let everybody know that we're hosting a pancake breakfast on this Sunday, the 14th, from 8 to 1. So if anybody would like to come, that's all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Gentleman on the right?
Jennings Black, 2505 Elm Avenue. On many of these issues right now, I can give you a very good example that works. It works very well. We have very dear friends who have lived in Israel for approximately 6 to 8 years. When it's time for their visa renewed, Israel said, no, we're not renewing your visa. You have 3 weeks to leave. These are wonderful, excellent people. I'd love to see them live right here in Hainesport. Nice business people, hardworking, very honest, outstanding in every way. They were given 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, they were out of the country. There was no options. That's how that law worked. You will be out in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, they were gone. So I think if we do the same thing in our country and use our laws wisely, I believe that would be helpful also, too.
Sure.
Something I've spoken about before, I've been watching the Masons Creek here, get redder and redder all the time, all along the embankments there and all. Been riding around through some Marlton and Mount Laurel there, and seeing how all this red water is coming out of all their low ground there. I'm not sure just what it is, but I just know it's changing more and more every day. That all spills right out into the main branch, the south branch of Rancos Creek out there. Different subject also, too. I don't know where we can go with that, but somebody may should even check that out and see whether it's any kind of contamination, that or just what it is. I don't understand, but I can see a lot of it all along some of the embankments, along the roadways. It's coming out a lot of that low ground down there, and I know it did at Strawbridge Lake down there. That's just a troubled med pit down there. That's all that. That's absolutely disgusting. Years ago, we used to be able to sit down there and watch the fish swim around. All that. Now, it's just one big mud hole. That's all it is. Another thought I have is when I was here for the last meeting, when I got back to my home there, the street was pretty much all blocked off with emergency vehicles, state police cars, crash truck, and that one house there at 311 Pennsylvania Avenue, we've been having problems with for many years. Once again, the problem was there. They've had 2 deaths there within the last month or so here. One was a grandmother, unfortunately, and there was a granddaughter also, too, as you understand, from an overdose. And now I see another car parked out by our way today with Florida tags on it. We see an awful lot of undesirables that come in and out of that property. I'm not sure if they're using that as a boarding house or what's going on there. A lot of neighbors feel very uncomfortable, won't come here and voice their opinion, okay?
Is anybody calling the state police?
We have them there all the time. We've had a squad team, we had a squad out there do a raid out there. And these men are putting their lives in jeopardy also, too, every time we call them. And that makes some of us feel kind of concerned. I have been personally threatened, at least on one occasion. Another time, I'm not sure whether the man was going to shoot me or what, I don't know. But when these undesirables come to our neighborhood, a lot of our families are very upset. My family gets upset, other families get upset. And these men back here, they come out there and they put their lives on, in jeopardy for the same situation, day in and day out. So is there some way, and their dogs, I'm not sure if the dogs are even licensed. My neighbor got a summons because she was too sick to even get her dog license there, okay? She got a summons to go to court. Now, here's somebody that's a hardworking, she was too sick to go and do it, and she's got to come appear in court. These people are in the court, and they get arrested, and they're back in 15 minutes. And we have to deal with this. We've been doing it for years. Can this place be ruled a nuisance or something? I mean, they just don't give up. And here we live. We try and do the best we can do, and here they live. The pit bulls run out and bite people in the street. Have to call an emergency squad because they're so severely injured because they're dogs. They threaten people in the street. They throw people in and out of cars, beatings, muggings. I mean, whoa. Nice little quiet neighborhood down there. We have all nice, hard-working families down there, and they just continue to just, we call the state police and call the state police. It seems like their hands are tied, So maybe there's something the township can do, say, if you're going to run a nuisance property, you're out of here. You want to come and live and be part of the neighborhood, fine.
Are these homeowners or tenants?
Pardon?
Are these homeowners or tenants?
I don't know what they are. When the police are there, it's amazing how many police where they come from. One raid there, they had a whole bunch of little pregnant girls all in handcuffs, lined up on the fence in their driveway there. I mean, when we see the guys come down with these weapons and a mask and all, they're powerful weapons. And I told my wife, my daughter, if you ain't throwing, get on the floor, get out as fast as you can. That's not right. This is a residential area. And it's a nice area. And like I say, these are all nice, hard-working people in our area, and these folks, they just continue to, do what they want to do and get away with it. I'm sorry to dump on the problem, but it's ongoing, guys, and, it's been ongoing, and, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask him a couple questions? Mr. Black, just hang on.
Wait.
We called the police.
Wait, Ted. I mean, there's an order here.
All right.
All right? No, there's your excuse, Mr. Blank. Thanks.
All right.
Anyone else? Someone here.
Paul Ferraro, 206 Northampton Avenue. Whenever we talk about people coming into the country illegally, I understand there's a left and a right, and it's a heavy politics. I had the good fortune of walking across the United States a few years ago, and going across Route 60 to little towns all the way across. And I spoke VFWs, American Legions, schools, churches, and in every little town, like Hainesport, that has an MS-13 problem, they all said they didn't know how it happened. They never saw it coming. It's towns much, much smaller than this. And it scares the daylights out of me that we always say, well, we don't have a problem. We don't see a problem yet. But when you do get one, it's too late. So I'm for anything that will be fair to people, but also make a statement that we're aware there could be a problem. Because once it happens, it's over. And I can't tell you how many families I met. I walked for the families of fallen Navy SEALs. And I can't tell you how many people I met that their kids died on overdoses from this terrible drug and how it got there. And there are towns of 1,000 people. Route 60, all the way across the country. I visited 100 countries in my career. And in every place where they have break the laws to allow people to come in when they want, problems happen. And it scares me to hear that. It scares me to see that we're in the position we're in with the state. And I agree with you, Mayor, that it's sending a letter to them. Anything that we can do as individuals, we should be doing. We should be making our opinion known.
Right. My point is that there is statute that's, in my opinion, it's being violated. And it's incumbent upon those in law enforcement, particularly the Department of Justice, to prosecute the people that are breaking that law. Why they're looking the other way, it's all politics. I mean, the Democrats have their reasons, Republicans have their reasons, and anybody who falls in between gets caught in the crossfire. And we really need to start petitioning those in charge of enforcing these laws. Hey, let's start enforcing them. Because I think the Attorney General, and Ted asked me, do I think he should be prosecuted? My answer is yes. I think he should be, under federal law.
The people that are going to get hurt are the people in towns like this. That's who's going to get hurt.
And the people that are being used in the process are the citizens that are here, and the people that are trying to come here. Right? We're pawns. Whether we're here legally, or whether we're here illegally, or whether we're undocumented, pick your poison. We're the pawns in this game, and the only way it stops is if you start holding people to account and having them prosecuted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrero.
Anyone else? Lady there.
Erin Monero, 10 Longfellow Lane, and if you're recording me, please make sure you get my good side. Good evening. I am here to convey my discontent with Mr. Costa's anti-sanctuary resolution. My reasons for opposing the resolution have nothing to do with politics. I think most Hainesport residents believe that immigration is an important issue in one form or another, but Mr. Costa's resolution is not the answer. I have read the draft in its entirety and find that it directly contradicts Hainesport Township's mission to serve our citizens with the utmost respect, integrity, and professionalism through providing solutions to challenges presented and services utilizing the most cost-effective and efficient method. The resolution does not provide a solution to a challenge. I think the mayor echoed that tonight. If you want to protect the citizens of Hainesport, then the change you seek should be here in Hainesport. The resolution lacks any means by which the town will help its citizens who face the opioid epidemic referenced in the draft. There are additional issues addressed in the resolution which also lack concrete solutions. Although I have not personally engaged in the ongoing Facebook debate, I noticed that only a fraction of Hainesport citizens have commented on the issue at all. I think last I counted this afternoon it was 168, and I think our town has a lot more people in it than that. Of those who have contributed, the vote does not seem largely to swing in the favor of this resolution. As a result, Mr. Costa's resolution will not represent the vast majority of the voters in Hainesport. You were each elected to represent Hainesport in its entirety, so you have a duty to all citizens of this town. As a town, we need to come together to support and help each other. Our time would be much better spent improving the lives of our neighbors rather than drafting a resolution that makes our town seem politically aligned with only one party. I love our town. I have the best neighbors in the world. I am proud to call Hainesport my home. Let's work to keep Hainesport focused on its own citizens and not on the political agenda of one party over another. I implore you all to uphold your duty to serve each and every member of this township. If you are truly looking at the best interests of Hainesport, you will see that the anti-sanctuary resolution is unnecessary and begin to examine ways to help our voters. On a side issue, I just want to say I think that we have beautiful parks, and I was very happy to have my daughter play soccer tonight on one of our beautiful fields, so thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
Anyone else? Going once, twice. So, we're done with public comment. Where were we on the agenda? Comments from our administrator.
Okay. Happy to report that the municipal gazebo out here at our park sold on Gov Deals for $621. So I would like to thank our one of our Public Works employees for suggesting that we put it on Gov Deals. Joe, I do want to say thank you. And it, most importantly, will be removed by the buyer and disassembled on their own within the next week. The 97 Ford F-450 Super Duty also sold on Gov Deals for $3,580. I want to remind everybody or let everyone know the 2020 census is gearing up. The Bureau is currently seeking qualified managers within the local area in the back of the room. There's some postcards for the website where people can apply. Please feel free to take some and pass them around if you know anyone. Obviously, there's going to be some additional employment opportunities as we get closer to 2020. The shade system tables and ADA walkways at Rancocas Heights Park and the new pavilion will be installed by the end of the month. Again, that was special thanks to the 2016 Burlington County Municipal Park Development Grant. I think it was around $200,000, and that was the last year so far that they've offered that grant. I want to correct what I said earlier. It's actually a $3 million surplus, not a $4, and that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
And comments from our solicitor?
So I just want to make an observation, if I may. One, I'm going to commend the committee for having a discussion and being willing to have a discussion about something that you don't all agree upon. But when you're presented and being told that the word illegal alien is the language of bias and the preferred term is undocumented immigrant, it begs the question, preferred by whom? Who's to say that that is not a term of bias? Maybe the best term is undocumented illegal immigrant aliens, right? Get them all in there, right? That way everybody's happy. And so you parse these things, and when you go through the resolution, there are terms in there that probably lean one way or the other, and they're not necessarily factual, but to say to you that the word illegal aliens is a term of bias and the preferred is something else, it begs the question. And then the statement that two members of the governing body who didn't speak in support of the resolution are the only reasonable members of the governing body, and the other three of you are unreasonable, is equally troubling. Isn't that the language of bias?
Mm-hmm.
You agree with me, so you're reasonable, but if you disagree with me, you're unreasonable. You know, it doesn't only ignore the idea that we have the right to agree to disagree, it denies that concept of we should agree to disagree. And I just don't understand that. I just don't get that. And I also want to comment on, you were told, and the gentleman's not here, and I regret that, because I just wanted to say that you were told that you don't have the right to speak for the residents of the township. You aren't we the people. You don't have the right to speak for us. You not only have the right to speak, you have the obligation to speak. You adopted 2 ordinances tonight and 13 resolutions. They weren't voted upon by the audience. They were voted upon by you. Our democracy is a representative democracy. Everybody doesn't get to vote on everything. They get to vote on you. And then you decide among yourselves what is the best thing for the public to do. So, again, you not only have the right to speak, it is your duty to do so. And I just think the public needs to know. And I heard, even though the gentleman who spoke is not here, I heard people in the audience go, yeah, it's we the people. Well, it is we the people in November. And it's we the people during governing body meetings, and I've sat through over 1,000 of them. That's we the people, and the input, and the stuff that they can talk to you about during the week, and the input that you take from them. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. And the discussion that you have, and you had it this evening, and you'll probably have it again, over the resolution in particular, is what you're elected to do. And so I commend you again.
Thank you, John.
John?
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to comments from the committee, this time starting from my extreme right. Ted?
Oh, okay. For those who have come out for this anti-sanctuary resolution, I thank you for your participation. It's an interesting topic, and I don't want to beat a dead horse by going over and over again, but the prospect of doing nothing when our state legislature is already doing nothing, I feel is inappropriate, and that's why I felt it's necessary for towns like ours to make a statement. No matter how small a town we are, we shouldn't be silenced or bludgeoned to silence. We have a duty to speak up, I think, to preserve our rights under the federal government's laws, under the Constitution. That much said, I'll move on. The rain tax, we passed a nice resolution disapproving of the rain tax, similar to the resolution I had with anti-sanctuary status. I disapprove of that. I also disapprove of the rain tax. The rain tax that we're going to tax us for our parking lots, if our parking lots were more than a certain size. And it would affect many small businesses throughout New Jersey. That's who they're penalizing. It seems that there's no no quenching of thirst for the state's ever-reaching demand to get tax money. And the funny thing is, the more we give the state of New Jersey, the more they want. There's not one state that wants more taxes than New Jersey. We have the income tax, the sales tax, gross receipts tax on utilities, your cell phone taxes, and now they want to tax driveways if it's above a certain size. 65% of the population is employed by small business, and this rain tax, I feel, is aimed right toward them. The fact that I'm one of them isn't a factor. I think small businesses should thrive in our state so that we can employ more people. That's all I have. Thanks, folks, for coming.
Leila.
Okay, I'm going to be a little fungible here. Forgive me. One of the last things to get my attention was something that Kitty said regarding the Glen at Masons Creek and how it was supposed to be a box store or something. It was commercial, and that they didn't. It was just costing the community money. Just round figures. I guesstimate that the taxes that the homeowners at the Glen pay are over $1,300,000 a year, and they don't have any children in school. They don't utilize the school system. So I don't consider them a burden. I wanted to say that congratulations, Mr. Gillespie, for having your article in the New Jersey League of Municipalities on civility. I thought it was an excellent article. I also want to congratulate the members of the workforce here at the town who, through their continuing education, have received high marks and are going through and continuing to get further education in their fields, whether it be the administrator, the clerk, the deputy clerk, the enforcement code officers. Even public works, they continue to go on and have continuing education throughout the year, and I commend them for it and far-reaching expectations. I was privileged this past month to go to a GIF seminar. It's an educational seminar for people here on the dais and members of the township to learn about ways to keep our insurance premiums down. And that was something I attended with Paula. We also attended a senior prom in Pemberton along with Donna Casey to get some ideas for a senior prom here in Hainesport. So right now we are asking people to save the date of August 16th for a senior prom that will be held at the fire company. So more information will be coming out shortly. I also met with the Hainesport Environmental Committee to discuss the Community Day projects that are coming up. They're talking about butterflies and such to be released in June. Paul and I attended a legislative meeting in Trenton. There were many members of the New Jersey state government there, including Mr. Sweeney. There was discussions about affordable housing and cannabis and many other things, and it was quite informative, rather early. I was privileged to go to a senior citizen luncheon that was given by the Ladies Auxiliary at the firehouse the other day. It was a lovely group of about 20 people, and the women had cooked, and it was just a fantastic show of appreciation, and we couldn't have appreciated it more. There's an Easter egg hunt here on the 13th, provided that there's no rain, at noon, which is always a fun thing. The 14th is the pancake breakfast at the firehouse. On the 16th, I'm attending a roundtable discussion regarding affordable housing and cannabis in Mount Laurel.
Interesting combination.
Yes, it is. The 27th is Community Cleanup Day from 7 to 12 and a shred event at the street center, and the shred event is here at the municipal building. May 4th is a community yard sale, and May 31st, I believe, is still designer bingo. Looking forward to attending. And that's it.
Thanks, Lee. Lee?
Thank you, Frank. I would like to thank Paula for giving that excellent presentation on the budget. I was going to mention the Easter egg hunt, but Leila beat me to it. It's fine. I also want to congratulate John on the article, and thank you all for coming out tonight and spending your time with us. Get home safe.
Great, thanks. Jerry?
Yeah, I have to, we're going to talk about the Easter egg hunt and the pancake breakfast. Be sure to come. If you love pancakes, you'll enjoy it. I'll be there. But I do want to address a comment that was made about me by leaving me out of the reasonables up here. I think Lee seconded my opinion. We want to put the children of our township first and the residents first. If that's unreasonable, I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And there was a comment made, we don't like the governor. Did anybody say, I didn't say I don't like the governor. I don't know. So I'm a little concerned about, that was Miss Evans' comment, and about partisan. I don't think we're partisan. I think we had a very good discussion tonight, and I think that we talked about, at least me and you did second, that any decision we make up here is about all the residents and making sure our children have the financial means to be educated, and any state decision doesn't impact us or our township residents. So I don't think that's unreasonable. And as for Kitty, about the ratables, I think we're right on board. We spend a lot of time that people don't know about, talking about ratables, looking for ratables, meeting with people, and I will tell you, I ran on ratables, and it's about ratables, and we're here a lot, talking about what we can have, what we can get. So that is a major concern of this whole committee, and I'm glad that you want ratables too, because that's what we have to keep our taxes low. And I love this budget. We did a good job. Everybody did. The presentation was good, and you're basically getting no increase this year, which is basically, it's excellent. So thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you at the pancake breakfast. Bring your appetite.
Thanks, Jerry. I want to thank Paula for the presentation and the work she did on the budget. A great job. And our CFO who left did a great job as well. Donna did a great job as well. And I think our residents get to see the results of that by the relatively hardly any increase in taxes going into next year. So that's always a good thing, and it's probably the most important thing that we're elected for here, so I'm glad we at least got that done. Again, John, you've already heard compliments and congratulations on that article, but that's a great article, and I'll try to take that to heart about civility.
Yeah, me too.
And finally, with regard to our discussion tonight, look, it is, I've said this in other meetings, so my stance tonight should not surprise anyone, but we're a nation of laws. If the laws are implemented correctly, we're all protected, no matter which side of the aisle that we're on. And with regard to the immigration issue, again, it is a matter of law. If if there are good laws and laws are enforced properly, then we don't have these problems. But when you have state representatives, no matter where, not just here, go off half-cocked, make decisions, they make policy decisions that flout federal law. In this case, with immigration, that you can argue that it's a violation of Title 8 of the United States Code, Section 1324. Look it up, and you'll see that when they pronounce these policies, that they are violating that law, and it's up to those entrusted with the duty to prosecute those laws to do exactly that, whether it's an attorney general, which, considering he's an attorney general, it's kind of embarrassing, or a governor, or a mayor, or anyone else. The law's there. Enforce it It's for our protection, and if you're not going to enforce it, then we don't have protection. If we don't have protection, we have chaos, and look at the border, that's what you got chaos. So, and that comment is not a comment on the people there. As I said in my earlier comments, if I was them, I'd want to get the hell in here too. And I stand by that statement. So, that being said, that concludes comments from the committee. It's time to pay the bills. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. There is no executive session tonight, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Who motion? Oh, Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Klaus?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mayor Mashaki?
Yes. Good night, everyone. Be safe. Thank you.
Guys, we got things to sign.
Okay.
Okay. 9 o'clock.
Thank you.